What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and a big hello to all of my fellow Potters out there. Potties? Potheads? What the hell do you call Harry Potter fans? It's a long series, we'll figure it out as we go. Anyways, it's been a while. Yeah, so it's been a while since I've done a series review, and with the Sorcerer's Stone about to celebrate its 20-year anniversary of being released in American theaters, I figured it was a perfect excuse for me to talk about Harry Potter. So without further ado, actually, give me 1 second. Outfitio change'em. That's better. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. Now, before we get started, I just want to make a quick mention that I will not be talking about She Who Shall Not Be Named in this series. This is strictly about the Harry Potter movies. And a lot of people are surprised to discover that I actually didn't even get into this series until 2 years ago. It was just one of those things where during the height of the Harry Potter craze when I was in school, so many people loved this series that I hated it for no real justifiable reason. I tend to go against the grain with some of these things. It's the same reason I haven't watched Game of Thrones, I haven't watched Squid Games, but that's for another video. So I actually didn't watch any of these movies until 2019, where I then proceeded to watch all 8 movies in a 3-day span, and I've watched them plenty of times since. So now in 2021, I am a certified pothead.
What's up? What's up? I'm pretty.
That still doesn't work, does it? So Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, or Sorcerer's Stone to us uncivilized Americans, tells the story of a young boy who lives with just the worst humans imaginable.
Wake up, cousin! We're going to the zoo!
Why don't you just cook the breakfast and try not to burn anything?
Hurry up! Bring my coffee, boy!
How many are there?
36. Counted them myself.
36! But last year I had 37!
And upon his 11th birthday, discovers something about himself that has been kept a secret his entire childhood.
You're a wizard, Harry.
That's right, Hagrid. But not only is he a wizard, he is the only person to ever survive an attack from Lord Voldemort, making him very famous in the wizarding community. At this point, a whole new world has opened up to him, and he is introduced to the wizarding world and Hogwarts, a school for young witches and wizards to learn how to harness their magic and cast spells. On his way to the school, we are introduced to Harry's 2 best friends, Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger.
I'm Ron, by the way. Ron Weasley. I'm Harry Potter.
Oh, are you doing magic? Let's see then.
And even though I have some issues with Ron's character in future movies, I really enjoyed Rupert Grint in this first entry, and I do like him going forward. It's nothing against his acting, it's more just some of the character choices. But we'll get into those when we get further along in the series. But in this first movie, I feel like Ron was definitely the main source of the comedic relief, and I think he just knocked it out of the park here.
Are you sure that's a real spell? Well, it's not very good, is it? Of course,
Shut up, Harry.
What an idiot.
Now once they arrive to the school, and before they're sorted into their respective houses, we're introduced to Harry's main rival that everybody loves to hate, Draco Malfoy.
And I'm Malfoy. Draco Malfoy. You'll soon find out that some wizarding families are better than others, Potter. You don't want to go making friends with the wrong sort. I can help you there.
I think I can tell the wrong sort for myself, thanks.
Now, in my opinion, his character is so underutilized in this series, and it just feels like there was a lot more they could have done with him. most notably in all of the later entries, aside from Half-Blood Prince. And while at school, we learn some more things about how this world works. We're introduced to the sport of Quidditch. Harry starts to learn more about his parents who were killed by Voldemort and how to cast spells. Harry, Ron, and Hermione get themselves into all kinds of trouble, including fighting this gigantic troll that really bonds them together as friends, and running into Fluffy, the three-headed dog that is protecting the Philosopher's Stone. And after they learn that Fluffy falls asleep if you play music, oh Hagrid, you dumb lovable bastard, they discover that the stone can produce a potion that grants immortality. Now naturally, Harry immediately suspects Professor Snape of trying to get this potion for Voldemort, and for good reason. Let's face it, Snape's been acting shady as hell the entire movie.
Be careful. People will think you're up to something.
So they put together a plan to get a hold of this stone before Snape can get it. So after getting past Fluffy in a few tasks, including the most badass chessboard of all time, Harry discovers that it was actually Professor Quirrell trying to get the stone, and there's a very weak Voldemort living on the back of Quirrell's head. The stone actually winds up in Harry's possession thanks to an enchantment by Dumbledore. Then after Voldemort tries to bargain with Harry to bring his parents back in exchange for the stone, Quirrell attempts to kill Harry. Harry is eventually able to fight him off as his touch burns Quirrell's skin and reduces him to ashes. In turn, Voldemort's soul rises up from the ashes of Quirrell and passes through Harry, knocking him unconscious. And once Harry recovers, Dumbledore tells him that the stone has been destroyed and explains that Harry's mother died protecting him from Voldemort, and her sacrifice actually gave Harry a love-based protection, which is why he was able to survive his encounter with Voldemort. Harry, Ron, and Hermione's house win the House Cup, thanks to those clutch 10 points by Neville. I see you, Neville. And the kids head home for the summer, but not before Harry gives one of the best lines of the entire movie.
Feels strange to be going home, doesn't it?
I'm not going home. Not really.
Now, my overall impressions of the Philosopher's Stone, I really enjoy this movie. It definitely feels the most like a holiday movie or a kid's movie out of this series, and I'm okay with that. This franchise definitely gets darker as it progresses, so I like this one for what it is. A nice, lower stake, fun movie to introduce us to all these characters and this world. This movie does just an awesome job of building up the world of Hogwarts and just the wizarding world in general. Hogwarts looks great, Diagon Alley looks great. Even seeing this at 29 years old, man, I really wanted to be a wizard after watching this first movie. I love the world building they do here. The movie is shot beautifully, has great atmosphere, and it's very vibrant and bright. Because not only do these films get progressively tonally darker, they get quite literally, and this is without a doubt the brightest and cheeriest looking and feeling in the entire series. The score is fantastic, and there's a very good reason for that. The first three films are composed by none other than the legendary John Williams. And to movie fans, I don't even need to explain who he is. If you're a fan of cinema, you know John Williams. He just absolutely knocks it out of the park. And with this being the first film of the series, we're obviously introduced to all of our main characters here, most of whom stick around through all 8 films. And I have to say, they did a great job casting these movies. And while the child actors weren't phenomenal in the first movie, they weren't bad at all, and they definitely get better as the series progresses. And you even get a few amazing standout performances, like Maggie Smith as Professor McGonagall. And of course, you can't talk Harry Potter without talking the legendary Alan Rickman as Professor Snape.
There will be no foolish wand-waving or silly incantations in this class.
He is just in a league of his own. And throughout these movies, he's obviously the best actor here, with no disrespect to anybody else in the cast. Now, as far as negatives go, I really don't have many. I didn't necessarily enjoy Professor Quirrell, but it's worth mentioning that I haven't read the books in this series, so for all I know, his portrayal was spot on according to the book. But to me, it just kind of felt like a case of overacting on his part. Another negative would be that the movie felt just a little bit longer than it needed to be. I felt like particularly in the second act, this movie was really just kind of going through the motions up until the scene where we get the troll. And from that point on, I mean, it's really good. I mean, hell, there was no mention of the stone in this movie until like 90 minutes in. So it felt just maybe a little bit longer than I would have liked it to be. But it wasn't a huge problem, more of a nitpick. And then lastly, just being a visual person, the CG in the Quidditch scene, yikes, it does not hold up. And I know a lot of CG from this era didn't, but there's still some that looks passable. This is not one of those cases. Go back and watch this movie, and that Quidditch scene might take you right out of it with that horrible CG. But that's gonna do it for my review of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Let me know what you thought of this first movie down in the comments below. Did you really enjoy this first one? Is it one of the weaker in the franchise in your opinion? Let me know what you thought. And as always, if you're enjoying the content, please be sure to give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing right over here. By the way, I love this wand. I might consider using it for all my videos going forward. And if you're looking for other videos on my channel, you can check those out right over here. And as always, we'll see you in the sequel.